Hello, this is Karis and today I'm doing my January Reading Rewind. This is a new series of videos that I'm going to be doing every month and they're basically a cross between a book haul and a wrap-up. These videos give me a way to tell you about every single book I read and buy without having to make separate videos, so I'm really looking forward to doing these videos and I really hope you enjoy them as well. There's not really much more to say, so I'm just going to dive straight into my first ever Reading Rewind. I don't actually have a book haul for you today because in January I did not buy any books. I spent all my money on buying a new iPod Touch for myself, so no book haul. I'm sorry. But you'll find out as you watch more of these reading rewinds that I don't actually buy many books. Yeah, I go out and borrow books from the library and from other people quite often. I do buy books obviously though, because I really like buying books, but just not as often as other people do. I read a total of 5 books in January, which I am very pleased with because it's well on my way to completing my target of 50 books this year. I don't have any of the books though because I borrowed all of them from the library, which is quite impressive I think. So I'm sorry but I don't have any of them to show you. The first book I read this year was She Is Not Invisible by Marcus Sedgwick. This is a story about a girl who is blind and her dad goes missing but no one believes her. So she decides to fly to New York to find her dad and to figure out what is going on. But obviously because she's blind, she would be a bit useless by herself, so she brings her brother along with her. It's a whole mystery story and I really enjoyed it. It was thought-provoking and interesting and intriguing and really unique as well. I liked having a blind main character because it was a very interesting perspective that I've never read from before. The only thing that let it down was the ending because it seemed quite anticlimactic and almost made the rest of the book pointless in a way, but as I think about it more I kind of understand and appreciate the ending more because it fits with the whole theme of coincidence that's running throughout the whole book. Overall I really enjoyed this book though and I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. The second book I read in January was Coraline by Neil Gaiman. So many people rave about Neil Gaiman and his books that I thought I should really get onto reading one of them, so I decided to read Coraline. Unfortunately, I wasn't blown away by this book. Loads of people love Neil Gaiman and they go on about how his writing style is beautiful and how they just love his stories and they feel so connected to the characters, but I didn't get that at all with Coraline. The writing style was ordinary. I didn't think it was amazing, and also I didn't really feel any sort of connection to the characters. I didn't care what happened to them, to be honest, and I also didn't find it as creepy as the film. But there was nothing technically wrong with this book, so I think I gave it 3 out of 5 stars because it wasn't bad. It was still a good book, it just was disappointing for me. The next book I read in January was The Perks of Being a Wallflower by Chbosky. Again, I found this book a little disappointing. I watched the film before reading the book and the film was really good. You know, usually when you watch the movie of a book, then when you read the book afterwards, the book seems so amazing because it's so much more detailed and emotional and more stuff happens and it's like crazy good compared to the movie. Well, the movie of The Perks of Being a Wallflower was such a great adaptation that the book seemed a bit mediocre and ordinary. The book didn't have anything over the movie, it was almost the same experience. The same things happened in both the book and the movie. The emotion levels were the same. To be honest, I didn't feel like it was worth reading the book and watching the movie. That said, it was written well, and I do agree that the writing style was really beautiful. I just found it a bit disappointing because I was expecting it to be so much better than the movie. I think I gave this book 3 out of 5 stars as well, because again, it wasn't a bad book, I was just a little disappointed by it. After reading The Perks of Being a Wallflower, I decided it was time to use my TBR jar for the first time this year. So I picked the first slip of paper out of my TBR jar and it was a series finale. So I looked back at some series that I'd started but never finished and realised that I'd read the first 2 books in the Uglies trilogy and never read the third one. So the 4th book I read in January was Specials by Scott Westerfeld. I really enjoyed this book. It was definitely my favourite in the trilogy. It was so action-packed and awesome, and all the sci-fi technology stuff was just amazing. It kind of made me geek out a bit inside. Oh, I just loved it so much. I was completely addicted to it. It was so hard to put down. I also felt really connected to the main character, which I didn't so much in the first 2 books in the trilogy. Looking at the reviews on Goodreads, a lot of people really didn't like this one, but I don't understand why. I just thought it was amazing. The only thing I would say was bad about it wasn't bad about specials in particular, it was about the trilogy as a whole. From reading the back of Uglies, it makes it sound like it's going to be about the characters showing people that you don't need to strive for physical perfection, but it ended up going in a different direction to that, which was interesting, but I feel like it didn't deal with the whole thing about trying to look beautiful enough. But it was still a really enjoyable series, and I would definitely recommend it to anyone, basically. The final book I read in January was Allies and Assassins by Justin Somper. I don't know how to describe this book. I thought it was a fantasy book, but it has no fantasy elements to it. To be quite honest, it's more like a historical fiction, but then it's not something that actually happened in the past, so I don't know what you'd call it. But it's about a kingdom where the prince gets assassinated and his brother then becomes the new prince, and he's trying to figure out who the assassin was. I found that this book had quite a slow start, and I found it difficult to connect to the characters. I didn't really care what happened to them. But the storyline of Allies and Assassins was amazing. There were so many plot twists. You would think that it was going to go down one path, and then it would go down another, and then it would change yet again, and this just happened the whole way through the book and constantly kept you on edge. About halfway through, I started to just be really intrigued by it, and I couldn't put it down, and I wanted to know what happened. The only problem is, because it's the first book in a series, it ended kind of on a cliffhanger, kind of, not really, but not all the loose ends were tied up. I'm not sure if I can be bothered to read the next book, but I really want to know how it all gets solved. If you're into your mystery and your plot twists, and your kind of historical fiction then I would definitely recommend this book to you, but just be prepared that you might find it a bit of a slow start. So those are all the books I read in January. I hope that gave you some insight into my opinions and feelings on them. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, and if you're interested in seeing more of my videos, it would be really cool if you subscribe to my channel. Remember that I'm going to be doing a reading rewind once a month, so if this is the type of video that you're interested in, it might be worth subscribing, but I don't know. Just do what you want. I'm so awkward. But I will see you in a couple of weeks for my mid-month video. Bye!